Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this incredible masterclass series on becoming a leader, transitioning from a manager to a leader. What does it truly take? My name is Jason Ellinger. I'm so excited to be able to talk about the subject that we're talking about today because it's about making goals that work. Goals that work over time, and that when you encounter trouble, you actually push through those and overcome them. So we're going to jump right into the material. And I just want to kind of present a few very important pieces of information that you need to know as you go into the goal setting process, so that you actually make goals that work. Okay, so bear with me here as we work through that, and then jump right into the tactical. How do you do this? And then a few parting thoughts to make sure that once you've got all the information you need to be able to actually do it, implement it, put it into action, put stuff down on paper, then we can go forwards and know a few things that's going to happen just after you make those goals, and what you should be ready for. So um, the problems that we face are we are living at this freaking warp speed of life. We're moving. Our kids have birthdays. Our spouses have birthdays. We got to go on some kind of vacation. We're going somewhere. We're doing something. Our jobs have tasks and responsibilities, obligations. We're hiring people. We're going all directions at all the time, and we're just so freaking fast. And sometimes we feel like we're getting absolutely nowhere. And the truth is that we aren't. We feel that way so many times because we're not moving in an incredible, solid direction that we've planned and that we put into action. There's nothing that's been intentionally placed in front of our lives that we're like, okay, we are going forwards and we're actually doing this and accomplishing this throughout our work life and the things that we're doing. And the things that get you from here to here, it's action. That's right. You're Tony Robbins, say that. But it's not unfocused action. It has to have a direction. It has to have a vision. It has to have a set of parameters that are moving you in a correct direction that cause you to be able to get somewhere. Otherwise, you're in this frantic warp speed action-based behavior, moving in no direction for no reason, and you start feeling lost and anxious and discouraged. And that's why we have to make powerful goals. That's why we're going through this series, from becoming a manager to a leader, because does somebody who feels lost, discouraged, and overwhelmed and full of anxiety, does that person sound like a good leader? Absolutely not. Are they capable of leading incredibly well? No. So what do? We have to fix that. And that's why I'm doing these master classes. So we've gone through the process of making a vision. We've gone through the process of transitioning from vision to mission to vision characteristics. And now we're going to the very next step, this trifecta effect that goes, all these go together. You can't do one without the other. Well, you can, but then you just waste your time. So all this going into one, these three master plans that you're making for your life and for your future, they have to go together so that you can move forwards in the direction of your vision and actually accomplish something that's fruitful, meaningful to you, and reduce that anxiety, reduce that stress, and reduce that lack of direction, that listlessness in your life that you're just like, man, I just wish I could make freaking progress in some area, and it's just not happening. And I'm a little bit later in this masterclass, I'm going to be talking about the areas of the goal areas of your life that you must have goals in. And I think so many people miss out on doing that. It makes in some, and they don't make it in other. It's a snapshot of what I'm going to talk about later. But anyways, and it causes us to be tripped up in our lives, and it causes us to have that drama and that lack of progress. And we have to have all-encompassing goals so that we can actually move forwards in the whole area, in the whole of our lives, and not just a piece, and just get blindsided by something coming out of the blue. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, and we've talked about this question already, is my current state and condition what I want as my future? Is today the exact situation that I'm in what I want to be in 1 year, 5 years, and then many years down the road? Or do I want something greater? If the answer is that I want something different, something greater, something that's more advanced, or something that's maybe I want more money, or maybe I want a wife, or maybe I want a family, or business, or children, or maybe I want land, or whatever it is that you want, a position, then and it's not true today, then it's not going to happen without a very intentional stepping forwards and action based on a vision. Okay, so if you do not change or improve your state, and condition won't change or improve. And that's something that you need and I needed to realize. I mean, this was me talking to myself about 15 years ago, really looking at this and saying, okay, if I don't change myself and my activities, then my future is going to be the same thing that it was today, because I learned that concept, that very challenging concept, from incredible leaders that were writing in the pages. My first mentors were in the pages of books written by great men. And so the overarching statement was like, if you don't change or improve who you are and what you're doing, the conditions, the state that you're in, will stay exactly the same. And I didn't want that. And so what does it mean? We have to do different things. And that's why I'm sharing this with you today, because now I'm 15 years down the road, and these have had time to take effect in my life and to bring forth results. And now I look at those results and I'm like, oh my gosh, if people knew this and implemented it well over a long period of time, like I've tried to do, they would be able to experience some of the same incredible growth and momentum and the same blessings in their life that I do. I mean, that's something I definitely want to share. I want to make sure as many people as possible can have them. And so we're doing this masterclass today. Hi, I'm Jason Ellinger, CEO of Taika Translations and TVP Team. And if you would please like our video and subscribe to our channel, we'd be very grateful for that. And as we work through the content today, if you have a friend that you think might need it, it would be very, very helpful to me if you would just copy the link and share it with your friend. That way they can enjoy the content too, that maybe they can get some direction in their life. Maybe like, you got a friend over there who has completely no goals whatsoever, and you're like, this guy needs some help. Just send it over to him and let him know that this is a goal setting session where you're actually going to learn something. You can put the pedal to the metal, like you're going to get the information that you need in this session to be able to actually come out of it with solid goals that freaking work for your life. Okay, so like, subscribe. Hi, my name is Jason. Now let's get into the content together. Sometimes we're all hypocrites. We achieve some success and then we stop. And this is a big problem for managers or people who are not long-term leaders, who are working on becoming that leader that they need to be. This is something that I train my leaders as they're transitioning through the manager phase into leader to be, is like, you've achieved some level of success, and that is well with the goals that you have set. And then all of a sudden we get to this point, we're like, okay, I got to this position, or I got to this role, or I got to this age in my life, or this kind of status in my life, and all of a sudden I stop making any goals. And we become kind of these hypocrites of goal setting. Like, we made goals and they got us to a certain position, and then we stop. And that is a tendency that I've seen among a lot of young leaders and young people who want to achieve something great. They get to a certain level of success, and then they start talking about goals and goals and goals. But then you would ask them about their goals, and you're like, what are your goals? And it's like, oh man, I haven't made them yet this year. And it's like, well, you got to get about doing that, because otherwise you're being a hypocrite in how you're teaching goal setting. So every year I take with with my team, I do it in November, and with my family, I do it till the end of December. For the forthcoming year, we sit down and we make our goals for the entire upcoming year in alignment with our vision for the next period. And so I try to not be a hypocrite with that, but I have fallen into that basket in the past where we achieve a certain level of revenue or status of living, and it's like, oh, well, I just kind of got too busy, too preoccupied to make any goals about where we're going for the next year. And then at the end of that year, I find myself kind of getting listless, kind of getting directionless, and be like, I mean, this was not who I am. Like, how did I get here? And it's like, oh, I stopped making goals in alignment with our vision. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but in 12 months, in 8 months, you start to find out that it matters. Really, really matters. And so I just would encourage you, don't be a hypocrite in the area of goal setting. If goals get, you're like, oh, this guy's just talking about goal setting, got us here. I mean, I've gotten to a pretty comfortable position in my life. Whatever. I don't need to hear about goals anymore. Listen, if you're not making goals and you had a vision for your life and you want to do anything meaningful and you want to do anything more impactful and meaningful in the future, then you still have to make goals. And if you're successful because you've made some of those goals for and over a long period of time, then it's even more of a responsibility for you to look into the future and think what you could do that is bigger, greater, and mightier in your sphere of living. Because you've got potential, massive potential in your life. And if you've achieved anything, then it means you can achieve even greater things. And if you can achieve something greater, then why the heck aren't you doing it? Maybe you don't have the motivation. Well, maybe you need to revisit your vision. Maybe some bad stuff has happened in your life and knocked you off course. Well, maybe you need to deal with that. Maybe you need to go through some healing. Maybe you need to get some healing. Maybe you need to go to church, start going to church again. Maybe you need to talk to some people, get some help so that you can start back on the process of filling, of living out that potential that you have in you. So many of people, we walk through life together, and I get it. I'm in life too. Sucky stuff happens to me too. We get freaking knocked off course. What do? Do we just, like the Man from Snowy River? Okay, that's going to date me a little bit, but that's a movie that I used to watch when I was a kid. The Man from Snowy River. What did the guy say? What do you do when you get knocked off a horse? You get right back on. That was the answer, right? You get right back on. And that's the answer. That's the answer to all of us. What do you do when life knocks you a blow that just knocks you off your feet? Well, you get right back up and get after it. And then it knocks you down again. What do? You get right back up and get after it. And that's the principle. And if you can't get up, then it means you need somebody around you to help you up. And if you don't have people around you to help you up, well, maybe that's your first goal, to get some people around you who can help you up and then move forwards. Because nobody can do anything great alone. People only can do great things in connection with other people, lifting to incredible heights. They can do great things alone for a short period, 10, maybe 15 years. Beyond that, something that's truly great, that's truly manifesting a powerful, influential entity over time, it's going to take a team. You can't do it alone. So if we fail to be intentional with our vision, over time, life works against us, not in our favor. Life will work against you, not in your favor, if you fail to be intentional. If you don't fail to chart a course, life is, it's going to continually work against you. And that's not what we want. We want life working for us, not against us. When life works for us, when we are intentional about living. I believe it was Branson. No. It's a guy from Utah, I think, who writes marketing. He wrote .com Secrets. .com Secrets. I don't know what the author is, but that's the person who wrote it. And he said, once you start aligning yourself with where in the world you want to go, your brain and your mind will subconsciously start looking for elements to make that true in your life. And I think that's very true in a lot of sense. Russell Brunson, that's it. Thank you, Karina. My background people helping me out. See, if you're going to do anything great, you got to have a team. Karina's behind the scenes making things great. So you got to have some support, somebody to help you up when you're down, right? So Russell Brunson said, if you start charting a course in a direction for your life, in a future for yourself and your company, your mind and your subconscious self will start to look into the horizon and look into the activity around you, and it will start to latch on. It's like, hey, that confirms that thing you want. We need more of that, or that opportunity over there that's kind of obscure and you wouldn't normally see because we're distracted. That's kind of important. We need to pay attention to that and maybe invest ourselves or a little time in that, or that relationship that you have, maybe you never thought about, but that relationship actually could help you get somewhere you need to go. And so when we're intentional about living, life works for us. But when we're not intentional in alignment with our vision, we have no vision. We have this fog in front of our face. We can't see ahead, and we can't take that forward action, and neither can our minds help us. That subconscious element of who you are can't help you because it doesn't know where the heck you're going. It's just trying to protect your current environment, keep you safe where you are. That's its job. But if we're going to go anywhere great and actually create anything amazing and impactful, then we've got to set in our minds where the world it is that we're going. Now, that's not some kind of like heebie-jeebie stuff, magic focus, hocus pocus focus stuff. It's actually just setting your mind. The Bible talks about it. Set your mind on the things that are right, and guide your heart where you're supposed to be going, and the Lord will direct your paths. Like make a plan. The Bible says make a plan, and God's going to direct you as you go throughout your plan. Oh, which leads me right into my next point. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Now, I hate this phrase. I absolutely hate this phrase. Even though I'm a Bible-believing Christian who was raised in the South by a bunch of conservative Baptists, I hate this phrase because it's a poor excuse for not planning and making goals. It's a terrible excuse for people who don't want to take responsibility for their life, take agency over their life, and make great goals and go about the process of getting them done. I've heard this too many times in too many circles, Christian and non-Christian, by the way. This goes for Christian and non-Christian. That's the funniest thing. You're talking to people who believe in God and believe in the Bible. They're like, you want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. And you're like, then you're talking to people who don't believe in the Bible, like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And it's like, why? Why does everybody use the same phrase? That's a good question. If any of you guys know why people use that same phrase, Christian or non-Christian, let me know. Write it in the chat, because it's still a quandary for me. Anyways, but I really hate that phrase because it means that you are not going to make plans. I mean, I've got a worker on one of my ranch sections, and he's like, well, I'm trying to make hay for I'm trying to cut the grass and make hay for this period, but I can't make hay because God's, I had to plan to make it. I had the goal to make this amount of hay bales, but God's not letting me because it's raining. So if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I was like, no, but maybe God's guiding you by, giving us a little bit more time before maybe there's some reason that God wants us to wait a little longer before we get the hay cut. I don't know, but that's not an excuse for not making plans. So continue to make the plans, do the best we can, and fill in other work while we go forward waiting on better weather. But even if God messes up your plans, or even if life messes up your plans, don't take that as a reason, as a great excuse not to make plans. And I've heard this so many times, it just makes me sick and tired of hearing it. Guys, it's just an excuse for not planning and making good goals. You've made and look, I get it. At first, sometimes maybe we're going to really overshoot. And we're going to, like, if I set an expectation, I will discourage myself by not meeting the expectation. Yeah, but won't you be discouraged from a lifetime of never doing anything that mattered to you? Isn't that more discouraging to you? Sometimes we're like, well, the here and now is not so painful. But yeah, when you turn 65 and you've done nothing with your life and you're in the exact same conditions, wouldn't that suck? Like, think about that. Well, we don't want to think about that because currently I'm not 65. What if I don't even live to 65? Like, all right, if you want to have that circular argument, that's fine, but I'm not going to have that one. I'm going to actually do something with my life and try to make it meaningful. And so I encourage you guys to do the same. And if you want, don't use this phrase anymore. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Just don't use that phrase anymore, because it's just an excuse for not planning or poor planning and poor goals setting. Just God will direct your way when you make a plan, but it's going to be through that same path in some way, shape, or form. All right, so we need a renewed perspective. Goals are the workhorse that make your vision and dreams come true. That's the renewed perspective. Goals are the workhorse that make your vision and dreams come true. Not this idea, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. No, goals, they actually are the workhorse, the things with work clothes on that actually bring to life that thing that you want to do. Like, imagine yourself getting sucked into a movie and started living out that character in that movie. That's what goals are. They suck you into that vision, and then they start your animated self on that journey intentionally towards that dream and that vision that you've been working towards. So here's some examples of God directing with goals. You got a goal to be healthy. Now, we'll talk about this later, but it has to be specific. But anyways, this is just for example purposes, guys. I just want to give a little bit further understanding of this. So I want to be healthier in some area. I want to be stronger, or I want to be more agile, and then I would put some specific stuff here. This isn't the tactical part yet. So right now, all you need to do is listen. Don't need to write anything down. Just listen to the example. So you decide in your healthy plan, your health plan, that you're going to run really far 3 times per week, like 10 kilometers or 9 or 10 miles, right? You're going to do it 3 times a week. And then you start doing that plan, and you're doing it for years and years and years. And then all of a sudden you start getting a ton of pain in your body, like really bad pain. At first it didn't hurt so bad when you were younger, maybe, and you got older and older and older, and you started getting really bad pain in your back, in your shoulder, in your hip, in your leg, in your knee. Do you think I can relate to this story? Probably so, because right, I'm in this story, right? And all of a sudden you had this plan that's no longer incredibly valid for you. Your goal has to be adjusted in order to meet reality. You went to see some professionals. I went to see some professionals that could help me with my health, tell me what's going on, help me understand what the situation is in my body, what I need to change in order to be healthier and agile and stronger, and what the effect of my current exercise regime was having on my body, right? And all of a sudden, we say, God, I told God my plan, right? My plan was to run really far 3 times a week. And now, all of a sudden, after getting the results of that for over a long period of time, and then going to see some professionals about my health, I understand that I need some different. We had to change something. We had to change some of the goals, because this doesn't work. It doesn't fit well for my life, and it doesn't ultimately get me where I want to go. Right? So, kind of, God is directing me by the pain in my body that I'm feeling, that I need to do something else and make a different goal if I want to achieve what I want to go after. So that's kind of an example of God kind of directing you with goals. I didn't say, oh, screw it, I'm not doing any more goal setting in this area of my life because it doesn't work. See, I tried to do it. I told God my plan. I did it for a long period of time. Now I'm all messed up. Screw that. No more health. No more health goals. That's just dumb. No, we don't do that. We get the data. We make a good decision based on the data and our vision, and then we go forward in the goal setting. All right. So, I just talked about this. Same goal, different execution. You made a plan. Told God your plan. He guided you by the circumstances of your life. Okay. Now you have a plan that works way better because we went through that whole process. I'm not going to repeat this. It was just an example continued, and I already said this stuff that was on this slide in the previous slide. So let's continue on. All right. So here's 2 cents. Here's my 2 cents, guys. Make a goal and a plan. Don't trash goal making because you failed to make it realistic enough. You and I cannot see into the future. We cannot see what's going to happen. We can only understand. The only thing that we can understand is what you and I want right now. That the most clearly that we can understand it, we understand what we want. I was talking to my son about this yesterday. Like, what are some things you want to be true in your life that aren't currently? Like, okay, it's a new iPhone or whatever. No, but not like that. Right? I mean, like, personally, what do you want to be true in your personal life that's not currently true? And then talk about how to get some more of that in his life. So we can see the future. We can understand what we want and take the next step in that direction. Most people are not brave enough just to do this. Because most people, they say what they truly want, it's a little scary. Because it means we have to do things that we're not currently doing. And if we don't do those things, we're going to let ourselves down. And that thing that we really want isn't going to ever be a part of our life. But we really want that in our life. We really want that position. We really want to have some more money. We really want that relationship. We really want the small business. We really want something. But we're just like, but if I don't say anything about it, I never have to do anything. I don't let anybody else down. I don't look stupid. I don't let myself down. Happen to life. Don't let life happen to you. because when life happens to you, it always happens against you, not in your favor. Okay? So, happening to life is vital. I'm going to share this song with you. If you haven't heard of this guy, whoa, I just went forwards. Can I get this link? Copy link address. I'm going to copy the link address and place it in the chat. I'm going to share this song with you guys. You got to go watch the song. It's really good. Till You Can't. It's called Till You Can't by Cody Johnson. I love this song because it talks about go after those freaking opportunities. So if you have a moment after the masterclass, take a listen to this song. It will really encourage your heart. Take that chance. Do that thing. Go for it. At least you'll like die trying. At least you'll be at some point in the process of getting closer to what that thing is that you want. And if you at least try, you'll respect yourself way, way more. Karina, I just posted a link in the chat. If you could put that in the public chat, I'd appreciate it. All right, so you must know these things about go. All right, so now we're starting to get into the tactical. That's kind of some theories, some stuff you really need to know, some information that you have to understand as you go into the goal setting process, and maybe a little bit of motivation in there, and a little bit of my 2 cents of information that I really want you to just kind of think about as you're going into the goal setting session. And now we're going to get into the meat of this, okay? In order to make great goals. Now, this is the part where you're going to want to take notes, or you're going to want to start to write stuff down. Okay, in order to make great goals, they have to encompass your whole life. And this is the thing that I was mentioning earlier in this first slide or second slide, where I was talking about so many people go about and make goals, but they don't make goals in all the areas of their life. And so they fall flat. And then they run into a wall and hit some drama, or something blindsides them from the side, and they don't realize that, oh my gosh, I wasn't paying attention, and that's why this thing happened. So many times, so many of the problems that we create in our lives in relation to goal setting is because we failed to look at our whole life holistically and actually make goals in all the areas of life so that we can actually have a balanced wheel of life moving forwards. Now, over the years, this has been broken into 6 or 7 different types of goal setting pie charts, but I like this one the most. And it breaks it out into 7 different areas of life: family, spiritual, financial, social, physical, intellectual, and career. And this is really important for everyone to understand, that your life is comprised of this pie chart. Family, what you want in your family, what you want to be happening in your spiritual life. Believer, not believer, if you love Jesus, if you don't love Jesus, it doesn't matter. Something has to happen. Your spirit, you have a spirit in you. Financial, what do you want it to be true in your money life? What do you want to be true in your social life? What do you want to be true in your physical life? What do you want to be true in your intellectual life? And what do you want to be true in your career life? And all of that is a composition of your whole life altogether. Oh, look, we can make a heart. Heart. Anyways, all of that is that compilation is your entire life. And if you fail to make goals in every section of your life, then you're going to get blindsided by things in your life that you didn't realize were important to you. So if you make spiritual goals and financial goals and social goals and fail to focus on the family goals, like you forget your anniversary, or you don't buy your wife a present for Valentine's Day, or you don't ever go on a date with your wife, or you don't take your children anywhere, you won't have a relationship with any of them. And guess what happens? Your family breaks down. Guess what happens if your family breaks down? You have a flat tire, because part of this circle is flat. There's nothing happening in there, and you get frustrated, and you get drama in your life, and it causes excess heat, and it causes all kind of things happening in your life that you're like, holy cow! Well, this goal stuff doesn't work because I started to make goals, and I started on the subjective, and I started to really focus, and I got blindsided because I forgot my wife's anniversary, and I didn't take my kids to soccer practice, and it's just an example, right? And I didn't spend the time investing in my boys over their childhood, so now I don't have a relationship with them. And all of a sudden, some of the areas of our life are flat, right? They're not what we wanted. And the reason they're not what we wanted is because we weren't intentional in that area, because the whole of our whole life has to be worked on as we go. We don't just to get to choose one of these areas. Now you'll look at this chart and you'll look at this chart and say, well, some of those I'm really good at actually. Some I'm really good at, being a family man or family lady. I'm really good in my intellect. I'm really solid in my intellectual pursuit, or I'm excellent in my. I have a great physical regime that I do every week in and week out, and I'm really, I'm at the weight I want to be at. I'm pumping those weights, or I'm running those miles or kilometers, and I'm good there. Some of them you're going to see that you're really strong in, and some of them you're going to see that you're kind of weak at, that you kind of would just don't really like that area, and that's okay. Like, some of these I'm good at, some of them I'm not. Like, for me, the social one, I don't really have a huge need in that area. I have a team and a company, and I have my family, and that kind of, I don't feel like a lot of it's, I don't really, it's not like an area that I really want to just have super growth in, but I still need to make goals in that area if I'm going to be whole. And so it's important for you and I to know that as we make these goals in our lives and as we go about our work and as we go into this process, we need to make sure that every single one of these areas has a goal, at least one goal for that year. Okay? So this is a reason that so many people fail in their goals, is because they make a goal in 2 or 3 or 4 of these areas, but they forget some of the others. Those other areas blindside them and they crush their plans because they didn't look at their life as a whole. They were only looking at parts of their life, trying to move that forwards, and it moves forward so far that everything else gets left behind. And that's something that we can't all do. We cannot do, because our lives are made up of multiple sections: family, spiritual, financial, social, physical, intellectual, career. It has all of these elements, and you can't just throw one out. It just is in our life. All right, so listen, as we go into the goal setting work, these are something you have to know. Goals setting is about setting goals well, is about making sure that they're specific. They're actually very specific. You're going to want to write this down or screenshot this if you're looking on your iPhone or smartphone. But make sure they're specific. Make sure they're measurable. Like, you can actually measure if you're making progress. The definition of work misery is when you can't measure anything. And one of the reasons that I go about whenever we have a new position in our company, and I sit with that person, like, okay, how are we going to measure how you're succeeding in your role? Because I know as a leader that person needs to know if they're winning. And if they're not, they need to be able to measure themselves if they're actually making progress, so that they can know, okay, should I feel proud of myself, or should I worry about my boss coming in and firing me the next day because I'm not doing my job? Or how do I know if I can be proud of my work? And basically, you're answering that question. So we have to do this for our lives, being measurable, making sure that the goal is measurable, making sure that the goal is yours. It's my goal. It's not my father wanted to be something or someone that I'm not. It's not my brother or sister think I should be something, so I need to go do that thing. It's not my wife or somebody else in my life. It's me. I want to do the thing. If it's not yours, you'll never do it. It has to have a timeline. Like, has to be measurable and have a timeline? Yes. You need to be able to measure it and have a timeline. I want to be able to lift 200 pounds by the end of the year. Okay, now we have a measurable thing and we have a timeline. And so now we can just go use 8th grade math and figure out what we need to add each month until we get to that goal, right? And then the last and most not done one is this one. It needs to be written down. You must write down your goals. You can either write them down with your on a piece of paper, write them down on your tablet, or whatever it is that you have to write on, but write the goals down. This process of writing it down snatches that goal from reality, puts it onto paper, and actually brings it to life in your life. So if you want to have a good goal, it has to meet these 5 winning characteristics. If you're going to win with your goals, it must meet these. So copy that, take a snapshot of it, make sure you've got it, and let's proceed. All right, so start with a dream and end with a goal that has action steps. Now, we just have a dream. We call those people dreamers. All they do is dream and talk, just billows of steam. But the dream actually has to end up in a goal with actually that ends up in action steps for us to get anywhere. Otherwise, we just have a dream. And remember what takes us from here to here? It's action, but it's focused action. It has to be going in a very intentional direction. All right. In perfect lockstep alignment with your vision, mission statement, and vision characteristics, start the goal setting process. Because you've gone through this long process already, so the last two master classes have been on working on your vision for your life and your business, and the next master class was working on your mission statement and vision characteristics. And now we're moving right into the goals. And so if you haven't seen those two master classes, go back and watch them, because it's very, very important. If you do this without those, your goals will fall flat on their face. So those two master classes leading up into this one is going to help you to become a better leader, because leaders lead with vision over time, and they know how to turn their vision into action. And so we're talking about this masterclass is about the action. How do you move immediately to the action? But we've already talked about the vision and mission statement and vision characteristics. So now you have a foundation with your mission and vision. Now it's time to get work on your goals. All right. So what is the answer? What is the question? Guys, listen. When we go through this process, it's not that it's all difficult. It's simply that it's a process that you have to work through, and then you have to work through it again and again throughout your life at different times. You have to set a time in your life every year when you're going to work through creating the goals for the forthcoming season. So typically, I like to sit down in my life and look at the year ahead, and I say, okay, what do I want to be true in my life personally, and then in those 7 areas, right, for the forthcoming 12 months, and go through and start making those goals for me. And then I take my goals and I go talk to my family and I say, guys, so what do we want? What do you guys all want to happen to have a reality in your life over the next 12 months? And we start writing those down. We start talking through those things and writing those down. We have a family meeting every year where we talk through this stuff. And you can do the same in your own life, or you can meet with a friend. But in any case, you need to answer this question in each of those sections, in each of the 7 categories that we talked about earlier. Write down one time per year, at least. I mean, when you get started, maybe you need to do it a couple of times because you're not used to the process, but because life is going to come and go, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, these things I forgot, and I didn't add these things, I didn't consider that, and I didn't know about that. And so you're going to have to make some adjustments. Leave room for that, okay? So you're going to have to answer this question. What do I want to be true this year, this forthcoming 12 months, in the finance area of my life, in the physical area of my life, in the intellectual area of my life? I'll show you a few examples here in just a minute to make it crystal clear. All right, so you need to write down 1 to 5 goals in each of the 7 sections. Could be 1 goal if you're pretty much good in that section. If you're really, really solid and you feel like you don't really, like you're doing okay, and you need to at least make 1 goal. Like, what is the goal that you would like to be true about that section of your life? And then if it's not hard to do that, that's okay. Just make sure it's true, because you said you wanted it and you want it to be a part of your life. So more or less depends on your skill, the size of your operations, and your discipline level. So if your life is very, very complicated, you've got multiple sectors, like we've got, kind of different operations going on in my life, with some of the branch work, with some of the online business work that we're doing, the YouTube channel and the broadcasting, the leadership seminar stuff, and and all the translation operation. So we've got a little bit more complication, so that there's different sections, and we've got goals in each of those sections. So you need to make more or less goals in your 7 areas, depending on your skill, the size of your operations, and again, how disciplined you are as a person in coordination with those goals. For me, whether or not it's a good thing, I'm a disciplined person. So some people around me would say you're too disciplined, you're too hard on yourself, and sometimes being hard on yourself means you're hard on the people around you. So this one is kind of an easier area for me. So having the discipline to actually work through, stick with it, and go and keep working on the goals to the very end, that's something that that comes a little bit more natural for me as a person. So it depends on you, but depending on your level, make 1 to 5 goals in each of the 7 sections. Now it's not hard. 7 sections of your life, the 5 rules for goals. Answer this question: what do I want to be true this forthcoming year in the finance area of my life? I want to save $5,000, or I want to invest X in my mutual fund, or I want to open a mutual fund and then invest a certain amount of money, right? That could be one goal. I want to open a mutual fund for retirement. And then the second goal could be I want to invest $1,000 in the mutual fund that I opened. And then you start writing down some dates. And now we have some goals in the area of finance. And we've answered the question, what do we want? And now it's just very simple. Okay, I go online, I found a broker, I find mutual fund brokers, and I open an account. After I open the account, I set aside $100 a month, and by the end of the year, I have more than $1,000, depending on the month that you started. Wow, now I've got great goals in the area of finance that I can do. And you start looking at it, and you're like, wait a minute, I can do $100 a month. Actually, I could probably do $150 a month. You know what? If I cut out, going to Starbucks every day, I might be able to cut out, even $60 more a month. Maybe if I went to Starbucks every third day, every second day, it might help in my health goal and to me to get more fit, and it would help in my finance goal. And so you start looking at this and you're like, oh, I just have to be intentional, write down what the heck it is that I want in my life to be a reality in my life, and then go for it. Or I want to create a new source of income. That's kind of a cool goal, right? I want to have a alternative source of income in the next 12 months. Awesome. So we get to start working on what that means, what that looks like for you, what service you can provide, what products you can provide, or whatever it is. Maybe you're a builder, maybe you're some kind of carpenter, painter, I don't know. And you can start working on that thing. And then it starts to bring up other areas, other information. Like, well, you might start to get to the point where like, well, heck, I want to do this in this area. In this area of my life is super weak, and I actually want to bring it up by like 20 notches. Go for it. Make 10 goals that year that you think you can accomplish within the next 12 months. Awesome. And you'll start to see progress, and you start to feel that momentum. And once you start hitting this two things, like in that finance goal we just talked about, once you start, you're like, oh, well, so if I want to save retirement, all I have to do is open a mutual fund and start putting money in. Like that's simple. Yes. Okay. You can go do that. This is not hard. Right. And then so you start to get that momentum, you start to feel that energy, and then you start to think, oh my gosh, maybe I can do something greater. And so that's what I was alluding to earlier in the masterclass, when I talked about when you start making goals and then you achieve a certain level of success, you're like, oh my gosh, I achieved this level of success. If I could get here, maybe I could get there. And before, you didn't know that you could get there, but now that you started on this journey, moving in a vision, in a direction, and you actually achieved some stuff, you're like, holy freaking cow, I can do way more than this. I built a $500,000 company. Maybe I can build $1 million company. I built $1 million company. Maybe I can build a $10 million company. I built a $10 million company. Maybe I can do 50 million or even 100. Like it all depends on you. But it depends on you answering this question consistently year after year and actually implementing those things in your life. What I want to be true this year in this area of my life? Answer that question. Put 1 to 5 goals in each of the 7 sections and follow the 5 winning characteristics for setting goals. Now, here's an example. Look up on the screen. And I just want to show you a couple very specific goals that you can set in your life. No, not these specific goals, because these maybe were previously one of my goals or something in the past, but it's just an example for you to clearly understand. Like, so that's like, you've got the meat, the bones, and the potatoes, like it's all there. So all you have to do is take this lesson and implement. Now you can just go do it. All right. So just open yourself a Google Sheets or a Google Doc and insert yourself a little table in there and put, these sections on there. That's like, this is my goal, what I want. This is the category it's in: physical, intellectual, career, family, whatever. And here are the things, here's the action steps that I have to do in order to make that goal a reality in my life. So you want to lose 25 pounds? When do you want to lose 25 pounds? by 1st of November 2025. Okay, now we have a goal. Okay, what is it going to take to lose 25 pounds? Now we answer that question. This is the time where you answer that question and you put that in the action plan section. What is it going to take for me to achieve this in this 12 months? Work out 6 hours per week. That's how much I work out. Weigh in twice per week. Track my calorie and food intake. Get a personal trainer to help me with my training, to make sure that I'm doing the correct form as I'm working, doing my workouts. Right? That's an example of a really good goal. And these are all doable things that you look at as like, I can do that. I've got 6 hours that I could go do that if I just put my phone down. Like, just do this just right now. Actually, take your phone and see how many hours you spent on Instagram this week, or Facebook, or any social, like social altogether. And you will find you probably have 6 hours of free time that you could go, instead of looking at your phone, you could go work out. Okay. And that's just an example, but just to help you out a little bit. All right. I don't know if that speaks to you, but it does. High five. You got your time. Use the time to work out and achieve a goal that really matters to you. Because now you said you wanted this thing. I want to lose 25 pounds. I got that hour. I found the time, because I checked my socials and I realized that I'm spending 8 hours a week. Most people spend more. So you probably got some time in there. You spend 8 hours per week on that. Now I can actually take that time. Instead of doing that, I'll just go work out. Okay, great. And then I'm going to weigh in. So I'm going to measure my progress. So this is a measurable thing, 25 pounds. And then I'm going to track my calories and food intake. So this is a daily activity that I can do. And then I'm just going to get a personal trainer. And all of these, they're not hard, but you just got to do them. And now you've got an action plan for your goal. Holy freaking cow. That's going to work if it's yours. Now you move to another good example here. I want to increase in my area of intellectual attainment. So if you've already got your degree, you've already become that doctor, that you've got that master's degree or bachelor's degree or whatever it is that you're attaining to, you're already at the kind of academic area that you want. Great. If you're not, this is the section of it going. I need to take X amount of classes. These are the amount of time I have to take the classes. These are the classes this is the subject that I need to take the course in because I want such and such goal or associate's degree or whatever it is. And then you start your journey. And it's very clear and easy, right? Because you've made a plan, you've made a goal. Like, this is what I want in this area. And now I go do this. For me, a goal like this is more relevant. I want to read one business book per month, or one book per month in that case. So in order to have more of a knowledge base, to be influenced by more incredible people, then I need to select 3 books every quarter. And then I need to schedule 30 minutes or so a day to read those books. That's doable. We can do this. Again, if you think you can't do this, open your phone and check how much time you have listed that you're spending there that you could be spending doing stuff that matters to you in areas of your life that matter. And you'll quickly find you probably have the time. Because I have the time, you have the time to do what matters to us. Does not what matters to everybody else in the world. It's just what matters to you. So select that time. And this is how you make the goals. So we already talked about the 5 sections. We already talked about the 7 areas of life. We already talked about exactly how you sit down and make these goals. Guys, if anybody has a question, please right now send it in the chat. Because to me, this is so crystal clear that if you leave this meeting today, if you leave this masterclass today, and you don't know how to make a great goal for your life, I will personally be depressed. So please, if you have a question about goal setting, write it in the chat right now. And Karina will make sure I see it and I can answer it for you as best I can while we're live and on air. Okay, so take this. I've got another section here. So here's one for family. I want to take my boys hunting this year as a goal. And this in my family area, because I have a very large family, I have a lot of goals in this section. So we have it's a pretty cumbersome area for my life because I wanted a big family. My wife and I, we have 8 kids, and we've got a lot going on here. So one of my goals. So last night I took my son. I said a little bit earlier that I talked about asking that question about what would you like more of in your life. That's part of on my goals. I want to build more stronger relationship with my teenage kids, so that when they become adults, that we actually have some kind of relationship. It's not some kind of dissonance, some kind of disconnected family. So if I want to do that, I actually have to take action in that area of life because it matters to me. So I want to take my boys hunting. I love hunting. I want to take them hunting. They want to go hunting. What do I have to do? I have to buy a license. I have to decide where we're going to go hunting. I have to schedule the hunts. I've got to train the boys to shoot. I've got to attend a safety certification program, whatever it is. That's an example. We've already done this in my family because I like hunting so much. So whatever it is for you, you're going to have to decide, like, what is the thing that you need, that you want in that area, and then you just make a date, a deadline, set the goal down on paper, and now you've got to write down your plan. What are the things that have to happen in order for this goal to be true in the next 12 months? And then so you go start working on it. Now, next slide. At the end of this goal, at this process, you're going to have a list of goals and their action. The next step is set up a monthly check-in with your goals. If all you do is sit down at the beginning of the year and make goals, or preferably before the year starts, if all you do is do that, start making goals, and then you write them down, and then you come back 12 months later and look at your goals, and you're like, oh, none of that's a reality. Screw it. This goal stuff doesn't work. I guarantee you, you will more than likely not achieve 95% of any of the goals that you wrote down, simply because you never revisit your goals. And that's why they need to be written down, and they need to be put in a place where you can actually see them and revisit them on a monthly basis. So go back to your goals every month and review them. Are you making progress? If you have to, make a progress chart so that you can mark how many dollars you saved, or how close you are to that goal. And a lot of times, many of the goals in your life, they have a financial aspect. So you're going to have to save a little money to be able to do that thing. So if we want to go hunting at some place, we got to save enough money to go for the hunt. So how much money do we have to save each month to make sure we have enough money on time to get to the place to go hunting, and so on and so forth, right? So all of these things broken down into small pieces, checked in every single month, you get to measure your progress and see if you're winning. Simple, but it's absolutely critical. Check in with your goals. Now, goal making is like 30% of the process. And I think that's something very important for you to understand. Just like they say in finance, it's like 20% knowledge and 80% activity. Like behavior is 80% influence on your finances. I see this curtain behind me. I have the window open. If they're moving too much, I'm going to close them. Karina, please tell me if I need to close them. But in the area of goal setting, it's like 30% is the actual goal setting part, the part that we're talking about in the masterclass right now. You sit down, you make the goals, you answer the questions. This is kind of the easy part. And then 70% is the activity and the check-in. Did you, like, when you go to the gym and you act like, okay, I wanted to lose that 2.5 pounds. Is that a reality for me this month? Step on the scale, look down. We measured. Oh, we're not quite there. Or freaking, I rocked it. I did everything I had to do. I ate right. I exercised. Boom. I knocked off 2.5 pounds, plus I added 1. So we're 3.5 pounds down. Yes. You check in and measure. If you do not measure your goals, you will not attain them. So remember, making goals is about 30% of the process. Actually checking in on your goals and measuring throughout the year, that's like the 70% that you can't do without. If you do one without the other, they will fail. All right, the inevitable problem. As I was sitting down making this goal setting slide show, I thought to myself, if I don't mention this aspect, I really haven't served everyone well in this masterclass. You're going to encounter wins, and then you're going to encounter terrible, life-crushing disappointments, maybe even blockers, terrible emergencies that happen in your life. We're doing something, we're working on, we're almost there, we almost got to the point where we're going on that vacation, and and somebody got terribly sick. Somebody got cancer. Somebody broke their arm. Like my son broke his arm. Like one of my younger sons, he broke his arm last week. It's not in my plan. It's not in my goal list, but life happens and we have to deal with that. And when that happens, I want you to remember something very important. Your vision keeps you inspired. You have to drive back to your vision. What it is that I am here for. What do I want in my life? What in the world am I doing? What does my life mean? And if you don't have the answer to that question, go back in the master classes. I talked about it in the vision masterclass. And you just drive forwards because that keeps you inspired when things get tough. And they will get tough. It's a guarantee. I'm not trying to rain on your parade, but I guarantee you, as a liver of life, a participant in this life, you will endure intense suffering. Emergencies will happen. People will get sick. Your friend, your dog, best friend may pass away. It's hard to go through those things. We love this life. We love the things in this life. God created it so it would be an incredible experience. But there's also terrible disappointments. So your vision keeps you inspired. Your mission statement, remember that in vision characteristics? That lesson was the last one. It gives you your passion and purpose. So you have it clear. This is my passion and my purpose. This is what we're doing. I mean, when your kids have been sick for 3 weeks and like it passed from when you have a big family like ours, you have one child get sick and then a few days later another child gets sick and you just got finished with that being sick and the other one gets sick and then the other one gets sick and you're like, for Christ's sake, when will this end? This is so taxing. I don't have energy to go to the gym. I don't have energy to eat right. I don't have this is frustrating. Life has happened to me and it sucks. But your vision keeps you inspired and your mission keeps your passion and purpose in front of your face and reminds you of who you are and where you're going and why you do this. And then your goals, they keep you on the rails when things get tough and they help you get where you're going. And so I understand, just so you don't get this kind of false idea that I never have to deal with the suffering of life and the challenges that come after you've made this beautiful array of goals and you put them on your wall. And now it's like, oh, I have goals. And then all of life, sudden life hits you hard and knocks you down. And that's why it's so important to have these. But just imagine if you had no ontic referent or source of inspiration, because you never took the time to determine what it is, which is the condition that most people live in. You never took the time to determine what life would be about for you. And so you have no clear source of inspiration and mission for your passion and purpose for life. And then you get knocked down, because it's going to happen either way. You're going to get the heck beat out of you either way in life. And if you have no vision and mission in front of you and you have no clear goals, what are you going to do? Like, what's going to keep you up during that time? Well, God keeps us up during that time. Of course God does. God works in all times and at all seasons. And we all only live by the mercy of God. I understand that. But God also said to plan your way and God will direct them. He said, plan where you want to go. And I'll direct you throughout that journey. And so remember, when life hits you hard, and it will, that is why it's so important to have goals, to have your vision and mission clearly stated so that you can go back to it and remind yourself that, yeah, this is what I'm about. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, this really sucks. And my heart's broken. But this is what I'm about. This is who I am. And this is why I keep going. And that gives you the energy to get back up. Remember that at the beginning of the video we talked about, what do you do when you fall off the horse? Well, you get up and get right back on. And that helps you get right back up onto life and get moving forwards. So when life hits you up, don't fight it. For me, that's God directing your steps. Circumstances in life, they can speed us up and they can even delay or eliminate that goal from your life. But you don't get discouraged. At the end of the day, remember, every goal is a goal. It's just a goal. It's not the destruction of your vision. It's not the destruction of where you're going in life. It's simply a goal. And while they're wildly important, it might have to change. I used to run 3 times a week for 17 kilometers. That was my goal. I ran, like my goal was 15. And because again, like I said, I'm a disciplined person. I just go past that goal and I keep going past the next goal and then go past the next goal. So it got to 17 kilometers. And then everything started hurting. I was eating right, drinking right. Everything starts hurting, terrible pain in my back and my upper hip and my shoulder blade and down to my feet. And I go to the doctors and they're like, oh, well, this is not good for you. You're going to be crippled if you keep going. I'm like, well, this has been my life. This is what I do. What do I do now? I change the goal to fit the reality. Though the people who realize their vision, despite life, are the ones who revise and just keep going in their vision. Those are the people who realize the vision in their life. The ones who revise the things that are going based on the reality and keep going in their vision. I want to introduce you to somebody if you've never heard of him. His name is Admiral James Bond Stockdale. And Admiral James Bond Stockdale, this comes out of the book Good to Great. James Bond Stockdale, he was shot down in Vietnam. He was the highest ranking officer to be shot down in Vietnam in I don't know what year exactly, but anyways, I think in 1967. Anyways, he was in a prison camp for 8 years. 8 years of his life. He was in a prison camp. And many, many years later, he's talking with the writer of Good to Great. And he said, look, this is a paradox. This is the Stockdale paradox is the thing that I'm alluding to, which is I never lost faith. He said, I never lost faith in the end of the story. I never doubted that I would get out, but also that I would prevail in the end. And that this experience would be one of the defining moments of all of my life, which in retrospect, I would never trade. And so the thing that you're going through, if you're going through something tough, remember these words from Admiral Stockdale. He says this is a very, very important lesson. You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of the current reality of today, whatever they may be. He was tortured countless times. He walked with a limp till the end of his life because his leg was so injured from being tortured for so many years. And he wasn't sure he'd ever get out, but he thought likely one day. And in the books, it talks about who didn't get out of the prison camps. And it says the people who didn't get out of the prison camps are the optimists. It's going to be fine. We're going to get out by Christmas. And Christmas would come and go, and they'd still be in the prison camp. Okay, we're going to be out by Easter. And Easter would come and go, and they were still in the camp. Okay, we'll definitely be out by Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving would come, and it would go. And Admiral Stockdale said those people would die of a broken heart because they wouldn't accept the reality that we're not getting out. Maybe not by Christmas, maybe not by next Christmas. Deal with that reality and keep faith that in the end we will prevail. And if you can't, that's your life. But you and I have control over what happens in here and how we believe in our mission and our vision. And that's why it's so important when you go through those master classes that I went through and talked about creating your vision, creating your mission, vision, characteristics, and now we're driving to goals. Because that's the stuff that keeps us going when things fall apart. And they'll fall apart. I guarantee it. Guys, it's been an honor talking to you today. I hope this helped. Next, I'm going to be talking about how to regroup and restart when goals don't go as planned, how to get back on the horse, how to get back on your feet. So join me next week on Wednesday for the masterclass on transitioning from manager to leader and being that person who is dependable, who is uh, forged in the furnace of life and gets back on the horse when the going gets tough, no matter what. So we're going to talk about that in the next masterclass, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope this helped you in your life. If it has, please like the channel, subscribe, and drop a comment in the chat below. If there's anything that I left a question, if it's not clear for you, please drop a comment in the chat, and we will be more than happy to make sure that we get an answer. Either I will answer it personally, if somebody else from my team can't answer that, or somebody else will make sure that they get back to with a solid answer for you in your case. So thank you again for spending time with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the masterclass next week. Don't miss it, because it's about getting on back on the horse after life, everything is falling apart.